It was about 18 months ago, May 2017. It had been an 8-month process, 5 of which were spent waiting for the IDA to respond. We actually managed to put round to produce I think a pretty outstanding application in pretty well under 3 months elapsed time. I'd like to give thanks to Ngāti Reo, Ngāti Wai, Auckland Council and our local board on Great Barrier, Izzy Fordham, Sue Daly, Jeff Cleave, Luke Cole and Shirley Johnson. Astrons, and if you're even vaguely interested in things astronomical, you can't do better than talk to the Astrons people who are out there. They will also sell you, and here's a push, this book which we produced on the basis of the application, and the funds go to the local community. We are one of only now 4 dark sky sanctuaries in the world. We are certainly at the moment the only island. More particularly, we're the only one that is part of a city. That's quite important, because I'd like you to imagine what it would have been like to come to the island or come to New Zealand before the rats and before the predators arrived. And in terms of light pollution, that's the stage Great Barrier is at the moment. So, as an example, if I go out in the middle of Mount Eden and look up at the stars at night, moonless night, I might see 100 to perhaps 300 stars. On the Barrier, maybe 3,000 to 5,000. So, why is it important? Now, some of these slides are from our very close friend John Barentine of the IDA. Why is it important? Well, them's the stats. That's why it's so important that something as insignificant as Aotea Great Barrier is actually quite important on the global scale of things. Introducing a concept, artificial light at night. This is John Barentine's suggestion here. What's wrong with it? Well, it isn't natural. If you look at the various light forms that have there, they give completely different spectra from ordinary sunlight. And this has important biological, physiological, cultural and ecological impacts. It's global. This is a sky satellite image that's taken up composite over the entire globe. Right? There's almost no part of the world that is now not being affected by this. All right, we've lost one. Okay. It is out of control. The brighter red, the yellows and reds demonstrate that it is going completely out of control. More and more areas are reaching the stage where you simply can't see the skies at night or see what we as a species have understood the skies at night were like. Why is it happening? Well, we overuse light. We adapt technologies very quickly. We're unaware of just the impact that these things can have, and we heard a fascinating lecture this morning about sound and fish, which I had never really thought through. We're incredibly wasteful. Now, it's not all bad news. We still, in New Zealand, have a lot of dark skies. You'll note, though, if you know New Zealand, that actually most of them are in places where we actually don't have a lot of people. And Great Barrier is one of those. We are extremely strategic in this sense. We're on the edge of the most polluted area in terms of light pollution. We are pristine and we're really fragile. Now, the next phase, a group on the island and off island coincidentally decided that it was worth our while trying to make Great Barrier an international dark sky sanctuary. We were really lucky. We had the right place. It was the right time. Pollution hadn't even started on the barrier. And we were very fortunate to get a really, really good team to put it together. Now, you've all seen pictures of Great Barrier, and if you haven't, you're going to get a whole lot more shortly. All the advantages of Great Barrier: no possums, ferrets, stoats. It's a haven for bird life. Thanks to Sean Lee for some photos and there. In many respects, we are an ideal place in terms of population. In many ways, we are one of the most deprived areas of Auckland, partly because we're one of the oldest areas of Auckland, and any aspect, any element of growth that can advantage the community, we thought it was worth making a push. Well, what's a sanctuary? It's remote, it has exceptional quality light of starry nights, and it is obviously fragile. Now, we put together a three-part application. The first part, driven largely by my wife, was collecting the story as to why we should be a sanctuary. What were the things that made the island unique? What were the things we offered? And how could we look after it? We were very, very fortunate of having Nalini Davies, who is a local astronomer whose enthusiasm, drive and access to astrons and the equipment made it possible for us to take the readings. Now, they consisted of using one of these. Okay, and this has 11.83. The target is 21.5. You'll realise that this venue is not by any means a dark sky sanctuary. And as a punishment for my sins, I had to put together the regulatory part of the equation. All right, we've lost it again. Okay. Jumping forward, these were Nalini's readings of the island. The material we had there was an average. The target is 21.5. Our range was 21.54, 21 through to 21.86. That's magnitudes per arc second squared. The average was 21.79. By international standards, we'd reached the gold target. Maintaining it is a different story, and this is where I'm going to end this really short little speech. This is light pollution on Great Barrier. Most of those require a generator. The one at the wharf, which is the brightest, doesn't have a generator unless you bring your own. That's our problem from Auckland. So our problem is your problem. The brighter you get, the more at risk we are. And this final little image there, the change in technology in outdoor lighting is dramatic. Auckland Transport is doing a wonderful job of changing the timing of lighting, lighting can all be now digitally controlled at a luminaire level. They're shielding the lights and pointing them down. They're preventing side spread of light to ways that have never been done before. But we're still stuck at a light colour reading which is quite high. Now, Auckland Central is not really a problem for us. If we go back to that one, that's the image of the Auckland Light Dome from the top of Mount Hobson. You can see the Milky Way. You can also see that little glow off on the horizon, which is Auckland. Okay. The problem we have is if you start getting into the newer technologies, if you get into the newer technologies, if you look along the bottom line there, Auckland is 85 to 90 kilometres away, Auckland Central. All right, look to the 100 and draw the lines up. If Auckland goes north with the same degree and speed and intensity that it's gone south to Pocono, then the barrier will become part of Auckland's light dome. The ratio there shows you the luminosity, the brightness at 50 kilometres out. The higher standard new technology bright blue lights, 5,000 K, have a major impact at over 300 kilometres out. And that's why getting it was our task, keeping it is yours. Thank you.